Try to avoid being on panels with politicians. A friend of Georgia, now living in Georgia, I can talk more authoritatively about
devoted friend of Georgia. He was a very strong politician and a very strong personality, and he was a best example which was demonstrating that you can really combine your political activities with strong moral principles. And we highly respect Senator McCain for his contribution to global politics and for his contribution to the development of partnership between the United States and our country, Georgia. We believe that Georgia is on the right track. We are progressing in a permanent manner. We are developing our democratic system, we are developing our economic systems, and we are developing our international ties. We are improving our international positioning, and again, I believe that Georgia is on a right track, despite the very complex situation that is surrounding our country in the region, but also globally. We are developing again our democratic systems. We have achieved significant progress in terms of the human rights protection, which is one of the most important aspects of development of any country. And here I would like to once again talk about Senator McCain, and I would like to remember that he was very much vocal against the torture which happened in the Georgian prisons before 2012, and his contribution to the improvement of the human rights situation was also very important. His particular statement played a very important role in this regard. We have a very much improved situation in terms of human rights protection, in terms of judiciary. Judiciary is one of the topics where we get most criticism from the opposition from different stakeholders, but even in the field of judiciary, we have dramatic improvement, I would like to say, which is evidenced by statistical data, but which is evidenced also by different practical figures. In the field of media, we have dramatic improvement. You remember what was the situation. Before 2012, 3 media channels were fully under the influence of the previous government. Now the media is pluralistic in Georgia, and that is also one of the major achievements of the Georgian government. We are strengthening the role of the parliament. I would like to emphasize this issue. As the chairman of the parliament, we are doing it by means of the legislative changes. We have changed the constitution. We are moving to the fully parliamentary system. But also in practical terms, we are essentially strengthening the role of the parliament in the Georgian constitutional order. Again, the new constitution will ensure the sustainability of the democratic development of Georgia, because again, with the parliamentary system of government, with the proportional elections, it will be just impossible to establish any kind of autocracy in Georgia in a long-term perspective. You remember that that was the main challenge for Georgia in the 90s. Later on, now it becomes just impossible to establish an autocracy in a long-term perspective in our country, and that's the major achievement of the constitutional reform which we have implemented in the Parliament of Georgia. Elections are fair. We will have another presidential elections, which is upcoming now on the 28th of October. We will have the last direct presidential elections in the parliamentary system, and I believe that also these elections will be held in a fair and proper manner. The main achievement in terms of democracy is that we have now the strong government and vocal opposition. The situation is very much different before 2012, where we had a weak government, which was able to keep its positions and powers only by brutal means. And now we have a strong government, which is fair and which is strong at the same time. And the opposition, which was nearly absent before 2012, by 2012, is now very much vocal, which is again the major achievement in terms of democratic development of our country. In this situation, it is also very much important to emphasize that Georgia has a very clear foreign policy vision. This vision was also reflected in a special parliamentary resolution. This resolution says that EU integration and NATO integration are the main priorities and goals of our country, and these priorities were even reflected on the level of the Constitution. We have now a special norm in the Constitution which says that different constitutional bodies should do their best in order to promote Georgia's Western integration, Georgia's integration with the EU and with NATO, which means that we have reflected this decision of the Georgian people now on the level of the basic law. This decision is not just a pragmatic decision. This is a value-based decision, not only of the government of Georgia, but first of all of the Georgian people. This will is evidenced by different opinion polls, and this decision is also evidenced by the electoral results. The election says that more than 90% of Georgian voters support those political parties which are pro-Western, which is a very important figure. This figure was more than 20% around 4 years ago, which means that with our consistent efforts, with our strong will to become the part of the European family of nations, Euro-Atlantic family of nations, this support to the idea of Western integration further increases. So that's a very important achievement of the new government. It was more than 20% by 2013. It is less than 10% now in 2018, which is again thanks to the very consistent and strong efforts of the Georgian government to promote the pro-Western policies. Again, in this situation, cooperation with the United States plays a very important role, a crucial role. It would be very difficult for us to survive in this very complex regional environment without the United States support. That's why we particularly appreciate the cooperation with our American friends, and we very much appreciate the friendly attitude of our American friends to Georgia, and again we are very much enthusiastic to further strengthen this cooperation and partnership. We enjoy very strong cooperation with the current United States administration, and we will do our best to further strengthen these ties. We have negotiations on the free trade agreement, which will be a very important asset for us in terms of economic development, but also politically. And we are hopeful that this decision will be finally made by our American friends. The Georgia Support Act is under discussion in the Congress. We enjoyed a very strong statements in the Appropriation Act and in other legislative acts adopted by the United States Congress. Again, there is a very strong cooperation, and we will, of course, build on this cooperation and further deepen it. It is very important for us to have a clear policy vis-à-vis the Russian Federation. Our main national challenge is connected with the Russian Federation, that is the occupation of our two historic regions. And of course, the cooperation with our Western friends plays a crucial role in this regard. We know that it is just impossible to solve all these problems with a short-term perspective, maybe even the medium-term perspective, but we believe that with the strong support of our Western friends and with our consistent policy, finally this problem, this major problem for us, this major national problem will be solved. Now we are pursuing a pragmatic policy vis-à-vis the Russian Federation, which is widely supported by our Western friends. And thanks to this pragmatic policy, we managed to essentially improve the stability and security situation in our country, and that is one of the major achievements of the new Georgian government. But we have challenges, of course. We have challenges with regard to the Russian propaganda. We have challenges with regard to anti-Western propaganda, and of course we have to address these challenges. We are going to apply different tools in order to improve the situation in this regard. Again, the situation is improving. I have mentioned the electoral figures, but we should be careful, and we should apply new tools in order to counter this very important problem. We had recently consultations with our friends from Ukraine and Moldova. We are going to establish a joint center, strategic communication center, the main goal of which will be to counter this propaganda issue, and we will also apply other strategic communication tools in order to address the relevant challenges. It is very important for us to have very good cooperation with our neighbors, and in fact we have very good cooperation with all the neighboring countries. Of course, the Russian Federation is the exception in this regard. We have good cooperation with Azerbaijan, we have good cooperation with Armenia, we have good cooperation with Turkey. We have a peaceful vision, we have a pragmatic vision, and with this vision we managed again to not only to improve the national stability and security situation, but now we are positively contributing contributing to the broader regional stability and security, which is, again, a very important achievement of our country. We are also participating in different missions globally. In Afghanistan, we have the highest per capita representation, which is a very important contribution from our side into the global security and stability. And the last point I would like to emphasize is that we should develop our economy. Economy is one of the most important aspects of the national development, because if you have a weak economy, you are very much vulnerable in terms of international positioning, vulnerable in terms of domestic development. Now our GDP per capita is around 4,500. We will finish this year with 4,800 USD, which is a very low figure. If you compare it with the poorest EU country, it is twice less. It means that we should be very much prompt in terms of our economic development. And one more aspect I would like to emphasize is that all the biggest countries surrounding Georgia are facing economic problems also due to the sanctions imposed by the Western partners. And in this situation, it is particularly important for Georgia to ensure the strong economic support from the side of our Western partners. Again, without prompt economic development, we will have more challenges. And again, it is very much important for us to ensure the prompt economic development and to strengthen the economic capacities of our country. We have, of course, our domestic plans, which are quite ambitious in terms of economic development. But again, without the Western support, it will be a bit difficult for us to achieve the ambitious figures. Again, we are on the right track, we believe, and with the Western partners' support, finally our goals will be achieved. I believe the main goal in terms of international relations is to become the full-fledged member of the EU and NATO, and domestically it is very much important for us to improve the situation with regard to prosperity, stability, the security, and thanks to the consistent efforts, finally I believe that all these goals will be achieved. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good. We're going to just do 5 minutes each, and then we're going to open this.
I think almost total solidarity with Georgia's position from a UK perspective. I mean, more stable, more predictable, more peaceful. EU and NATO reforms. I think it's most when that rule of law is so clearly.
And the last 6 years are going on several issues. In Georgia is that what it means.
Just a couple concluding thoughts and remarks.
Yeah, good. I have mentioned today that we enjoy a strong government and vocal opposition, which is one of the major achievements of the new government. And today you have witnessed how strong I am and how vocal the opposition is and how great our Western partners are. Now, to be even more serious, consolidation of the political system is the main challenge for us. We had a very controversial or very complicated, I would say, the parliamentary elections in 2016 with many controversies, radical controversies among the political parties. And now we enjoy much higher grade of consolidation of the political system. We have a quite strong cooperation with different political parties inside the parliament, and that is the permanent progress that we are achieving together with our political partners and other political stakeholders in the Georgian political system. We are on the same page on the most crucial foreign policy issues and the national issues, which is a very important aspect which should be emphasized. We have adopted a joint resolution on the foreign policy priorities, which was very important for us, which was also voted by our colleagues from the UNM and European Georgia. And we have also adopted a bipartisan resolution about the Russian occupation, about Otkhozoria Tatunashvili list. It was very important for us to voice our joint statement about the most important national issues and foreign policy issues, and it is just very important to be on the same page on this regard. So we are on the right track in terms of the consolidation of the political system, and I'm trying also personally my best in order to promote these processes inside the parliament of Georgia. As for the pro-Russian forces represented in the political system, of course we have this kind of forces which are more or less influential, but again, this influence is decreasing permanently. Again, before 2012 and shortly after 2012, there was a higher influence of the pro-Russian political forces in the political system, and it had a kind of very good reason, especially before 2012. In this situation, before 2012, the governing party, UNM, was demonstrating itself as the main pro-Western party in Georgia, whereas it was torturing, it was violating human rights, it was robbing businessmen. That was happening on a daily basis. And in this situation, when a kind of pro-Western party was doing these things, and it was perceived by or demonstrated by itself as the pro-Western party, the population, some segments of the population had kind of their disagreement with all these facts, and the pro-Russian kind of sentiments were increasing in this situation. Now, after 2012, when the ruling party is pro-Western and is democratic, the situation is improving also in terms of weakening of the pro-Russian parties, which is, again, one of the major achievements of the new government. And because of this fact, in 2013, there was more than 20% support to the pro-Russian parties, and now this support decreased to less than 10%. And again, that is thanks to the pro-Western policy and very consistent policy of the new government, and that is thanks to the pro-democratic policy of the new government. Parliament is much more strong compared to the situation even 2 years ago, and I agree with my colleague Giga Bokeria that we should become even stronger, and we will do it, and we will achieve a significant progress within the next couple of years, and the new constitution will be one of the main guarantor of it, because it will move the country to the parliamentary system with a much stronger parliament and with a much stronger positions of the opposition. We have a special guarantees for it enshrined in the constitution. Again, media freedom, just to be very short on it, media freedom is one of the major achievements of the new government. We had a full monopoly of the government over the media system before 2012, and now we have the situation where the opposition enjoys the imbalance in favor of itself in the media. That's the current situation, but despite the fact we managed to win the elections quite easily because the truth is there. You cannot damage the truth because the truth is there, and the population sees how promptly we are developing during the last 6 years. Last point, Salome Zurabishvili will be supported by the Georgian Dream Party in the presidential elections, and one of the major reasons of it was that Salome Zurabishvili is a pro-Western politician and pro-Western candidate with a strong European background, and she will be one of the strong supporters of our EU integration and NATO integration, and that was one of the main reasons for us to support her in these presidential elections. I did not manage to answer.
We'll pick it up at lunch, and we'll pick it up over the next day and a half. Thank you. Thanks to our wonderful panel. Well done.